Well, hello there, motherfuckers. And I was watching ECW Exposed, the Monday Night War recently, and I've come to a realization. And since right now we're in the supposed reality era of wrestling, don't really know if that's really what this era is called, but if it is, let's be realistic. Let's talk about reality. I've pretty much come to the realization that wrestling is never going to be once had with the company. Whether it be the Attitude Era or even the 80s. They're never going to
recapture that again. And why do I feel that way? It's been too fucking long. It really has. When wrestling really started to die out big time, like after the 80s, like around 91, 92, it really wasn't that long before they were on the uptake again. They were on the uptake again by 1998. So really, there was only a good 6-7 years of a low period there for WWE where they weren't really doing that well. So right now, this should be the time. The Attitude Era, where a lot of people like to debate on whether where it ended at what point in time for the Attitude Era. It's been a good 15, 16, 17 years, depending on where how you look at it, but where the Attitude Era ended. But they'll say, for the sake of argument, roughly 14, 15 years since that time period ended. Don't you think by now they're long overdue for another surge in popularity, another wrestling boom, as they once said? Another boom period. Hasn't happened. They're still stuck at the same ratings that they've had since roughly 2002, 2003. They're still getting the same 3.0 ratings. The ratings dropped drastically around that time period. They were starting to drop in 2001. When McMahon wasn't trying as hard, because when he bought out WCW, he figured that he really didn't have to try that hard anymore. So the shock value and everything all went away. Controversial storylines all went away. And everything started to get more and more bland. Where you could really see the cracks starting to show in WWE is about 2002, in my opinion. You could see how so shittily they handled that NWO storyline. If the NWO storyline, this is going to sound weird, were to happen during the Attitude Era, it would have been handled a lot better. But you could see that McMahon was not giving a fuck with the NWO. People cheered for Hogan. He took the NWO, which was only roughly going on for about a month, and just threw it down the toilet and made it into a second-rate mid-card faction. So you could really see how that was going. Then as the years progressed, you had certain time periods and certain years that were better than others. Some people say that WWE got progressively worse, but I beg to differ. It did get a bit better for a time. They were really suffering. Certain years were very painful to watch, and others were better. But you could clearly say that it wasn't as good as it used to be, and everybody had been saying that for a long time. I would always hear in high school, you still watch wrestling. It wasn't as good as it used to be. And everybody comes back to the same, the same thing when they talk about wrestling. The Attitude Era. Everybody talks about it. And you can try to be a rebel, and you can try to point out in the flaws in the Attitude Era. The matches were too fast. They relied too heavily on shock value. But at the end of the day, you look like a fucking goof if you're saying that the Attitude Era was not the most successful time in professional wrestling history. Because that's simply not true. It was. It definitely was. I mean, besides the 80s, of recently, it was the most successful time.
And, it's not even so recent anymore. It was more than a decade and a half ago. And they still haven't recaptured that same magic. Everybody comes back to the same wrestlers. Everybody talks about Stone Cold, The Rock. Everybody talks about those same two wrestlers. And it's apparent. People love the Attitude Era. People loved everything about the Attitude Era. They loved the fact that there was actually characters and that they were a bit realistic. While still maintaining that same wrestling charm. They still, people found them to be very tangible characters. And nobody says anything about the recent era. It is completely ignored. Nobody admires John Cena. You don't really hear average people on the street talking about it. Back then, you would hear people talking about it all the time. It was engraved in pop culture. When they talk about it on the Monday Night War on the network, they're not really exaggerating. Wrestling was fucking everywhere. It really was. It was on every single magazine, every single talk show, every single news show. They were talking about it up the fucking ass. It was not exaggerated. It was a phenomenon. During the Attitude Era, especially during like 99 and 2000, holy fucking shit. Wrestling was fucking everywhere. You could not get away from it. You had kids doing wrestling moves to each other in schools. Shit was getting fucking crazy. The country was becoming, engulfed in fucking professional wrestling. People were going completely gaga for the World Wrestling Federation. It was, it was everywhere. McMahon was rolling in fucking dough. It was nuts. It was fucking craziness. And the fact of the matter is, it's like you look at the product right now and like it's on the network. They clearly admit that was their best period. And they're doing nothing. Nothing to at least, take the same tips. Oh, we're not doing so well right now. The thing is, McMahon just doesn't give a shit. He's happy just, branching out, doing different things. But the thing is, it's like, why not make as much money as possible? I'm not saying for a complete repeat of the Attitude Era, but take some of the same thoughts and ideas and apply them. Create new storylines, create new characters. Hire somebody to help you out who actually fucking knows the sport of professional wrestling and knows how to write entertaining segments and develop entertaining characters. I mean, that's all there is to it. The thing is, what's funny about professional wrestling, now guys are getting more opportunities nowadays. Daniel Bryan, Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, these type of guys years ago wouldn't be getting the same opportunities, but the thing is, it's how they handle them. They might push them into main events and everything, but they don't realize that they can be so much more than what they are. They broke down one barrier of giving the smaller guys a chance. But then they built up a brand new wall of just completely fucking everything up and making everything look so goddamn fucking retarded. That's the problem with professional wrestling nowadays. I mean, there's no level ground. It's either up or it's down or it's to the left, to the right. It's just fucking insane. I mean, the thing is, it's like, come on. Why is everything so fucking nuts when it comes to the WWE? Why can't they just fucking get it right? They're outright admitting that they know when the best time period was for professional wrestling. They'll sit there and they'll tell you this was the best time for professional wrestling, and and yada yada yada. And really, it's fucking bullshit already. Just make the shit better. That's all there is to it. They know where they went wrong because they're obviously admitting it on the network, on the Monday Night War and such, and on ECW Exposed. Joey Styles is right fucking there saying that the fucking program sucks. But I'm going to be reviewing that in a bit. But yeah. They're never going to get back to the same level of the Attitude Era. They're admitting that they don't know how to do comedy on ECW Exposed. They're admitting this shit outright. They're admitting that they suck and they don't give a fucking shit. And it's just because McMahon is stubborn and he just doesn't give a fuck. He just wants to branch out to other avenues and not give a fuck about the actual product. Make money off of video games and other shit, but completely failing to realize that the reason why people are not subscribing to the network is because the current product fucking sucks, motherfuckers. Jesus fucking Christ, it's not that hard to figure out. I don't know why they make it like it's fucking brain surgery, for God fucking sakes. Motherfuckers, it's never gonna be the same.